I'm over 4 years sober now, and in this video I want to talk about how I stopped drinking. So let's have a little bit of a backstory. It's 2020, it's early sort of January 22nd, and it's in the middle of lockdown. I wake up at 10 o'clock and I feel horrendous. I sort of peel myself out of bed. My skin feels like it's about to break and I just look awful. I sort of stare at myself in the mirror and try and just gather my thoughts and just think to myself, what did I drink last night? How much did I drink? Jesus. And I have a little recollection of what actually happened, and I was drinking pint cocktails, so 250 mils of spirits, 250 mils of mixer, and just downing that until I blacked out, trying to chase some kind of strange escapism. The next thing I think of immediately is just having another drink to try and take the edge off, to try and feel normal. And that's what I do. I sort of sneak downstairs because I'm living in a pub at this point, and then just down a few sort of strong beers. And it works, I feel a bit normal. Now I get to about 12 o'clock, I eat a can of Heinz tomato soup with a bread roll, and then proceed to sort of get a bit tired, so I have a nap, and I wake up at 3 o'clock after having 4 beers before 12 o'clock and a tin of soup, just to feel normal at that point. And I can't explain just how crap I felt that day. You know, when you've been on a bender and you wake up and you just feel, you're not even there, you're not human, you're just completely discombobulated. And at that point, after waking up from that nap, I knew I had to change. I couldn't go on like this. My relationship was going to fall apart. I'd be crap when I go back to work, if I ever end up going back to work, because 2020 lockdown, who knew what was going to happen? And I just knew, like, if I kept on this trajectory, it was the seesaw at this point. I was just going to be destined to, probably just die at this point. Like, keep going down this hole. Death is inevitable. That's the only way I could see it going. So I made the point, change had to happen today. And that's the first thing that really helped me stop drinking, was I had to change. I was so sick of my situation, so sick of how I felt, so sick of letting people down, just not turning up to family events, just being behind, not being present with my family, not being present with my partner, just all of this, not living up to my potential, just stagnating, well, regressing even, just generally looking forward to drinking every night and not doing anything productive. All the hopes and dreams I had, everything, just not going anywhere. And I've always felt like I've had a lot of creative potential. Like, I've always had little businesses and stuff I've been working on. And I wanted to do something, make something of myself, actually feel proud. And at the minute, I did not feel proud. So the first step for me was just to realise I was pretty much fucked. And I had to change. Change was inevitable. And I think you have to be so angry at your situation, feel so shit at where you are. You need to have that driving force behind you, that almost hatred for what you've become in order to change. I think in my previous video I said a lot of people want to change, but they're too comfortable to even really try. But I was not. I was just, I'd hated everything. I just had to change. So for me, the first point was getting myself in such a rock bottomy rut of not being able to drive because I was so anxious, not being able to do a lot of stuff because I was so anxious. Like, I just felt so tethered to my mind, and if I got stuck in traffic lights, I'd feel trapped, have a panic attack. If I go on a dual carriageway, I'd have a panic attack. I just couldn't function anymore. I just couldn't do like day-to-day activities. I wouldn't be able to drive anywhere. I'd have to plan my routes on a map before I went anywhere to avoid busy parts of traffic. How lame is that? I'm a 30-year-old man. I can't just get in my car and drive somewhere. So yeah, for me, the first point was needing to change, getting to the point where I was so fed up that change had to happen. Step number 2, what helped me stop drinking, was journaling. Now, it's very simple, and it's something I've done in the past. It just helps getting your thoughts out of your brain onto a bit of paper. Something just calming about it. You can just get that whirlwind of thoughts that just goes around in your head. But something very simple, getting on a bit of paper, just eases your brain. It's out of here onto there. So what I would do in the mornings is I'd plan my day, write my sobriety count, which is something I was always very proud of. And once you start building up that momentum, building up that chain, you're less likely to break it. That's at least how I felt. And then I'd sort of work out what I wanted to do that day, write down how I was feeling perhaps. At that point I was struggling to drive, I'd have panic attacks in traffic lights and things like that. So I'd write down things like I was learning how to be a human again. I almost regressed prior to me being a 14-year-old boy. Like, I had to learn how to drive again. I had to learn how to be comfortable in situations that would cause me panic. So I'd write things down like that. And then at the end of the day, I'd sort of look back at it and write down what I'd actually done. If I've been to the gym, I'd write that down. If I'd hit any PBs or anything like that, I'd write that down. Anything that would just make me feel proud of myself, because in those early days, the anxious, depressed thoughts do take over. So you need something just to make yourself feel like you're doing the right thing, you're on the right track. So any little dopamine reward, any little thing you can tick off, just get that done. Step number 3 that helped me stop drinking was just replacing the evening habits with nicer ones. So instead of having a beer, I'd stock my fridge with loads of ginger beer, sparkly waters, I'd get some Pepsi, I'd get stuff like that. Things that I could have at the end of the day when I finish work as a sense of like reward instead of having a drink. I mean, obviously I'd cleared out my whole cupboard and my whole house, so there's no booze anywhere at this point. But just having something to replace that habit really, really helps and just takes the edge off. Especially in the beginning, like sugary things. So ginger beer was my go-to, just a nice fancy ginger beer in a glass bottle. Just having a couple of those just worked for me. That's all I can say, to be honest. Just replaced that evening routine. And I'd also have quite big bottles of Pepsi on the go because I've always been a bit of a chugger. I can down my drink, so just having something that I can just neck loads of and sort of fill myself up with helps. I'd also recommend some sort of herbal teas, sleepy time ones, lavender, chamomile, valerian, those kind of things. Obviously it's not going to have the same effect, but it will just take the edge off. It's just about replacing bad routines with better habits. Step number 4 is routine. Try to get yourself into a morning routine and an evening routine. Go to bed at the same time every day. Wake up at the same time every day. Just create a bit of structure in your life. If you're anything like me, there was no structure. You'd stay up until God knows when, trying to drink as much as possible, and you'd wake up when, like, the latest possible, really, because you felt so crap, you had to sort of sleep in. So now I have a bit of a routine. At the moment, I wake up at 6:30, take the dog out for a walk. You would not catch me out at 6 in the morning in a previous life. There's just no way. And just getting out in nature helps. You get that sunlight in your eyes. It just helps start the day on a good foot. Out in nature, I love it. Honestly, it's like the best way to start my day. So doing stuff like that, I would suggest just get up, go for a little walk, come back, make a coffee. If you've got the time, do a little bit of exercise and just plan your day. That's literally what I do every morning. And that just helps create momentum for your day, helps create a bit of structure, helps just give you a sense of purpose. Because I was just drifting all over the place. And then the same in the evening. Have a little evening routine. Like I mentioned, have a little fizzy drink, have a little sleepy tea, and then plan your bedtime, finish a bit of journaling, do a bit of reading, and then go to bed at the same time. There's no point staying up late. Just get a bit of a routine. And step number 5 is just getting a few supplements, getting some things that will just take the edge off. Now, I always used to be into health and fitness, so I've been a bit of a supplement junkie. I know what you're thinking, how can an alcoholic be into health and fitness? But we are a complicated bunch of people. So the first thing I sort of get is ashwagandha KSM 666, or maybe just 2 6s, but it's basically an adaptogen. It helps your brain just deal with stress better, it lowers cortisol, it just takes a little bit of anxiety away. For me, it's been really useful. It can also help increase your endurance and just improve your testosterone a little bit. I found it useful. It just helps me not care so much about certain things. It just stops me worrying a little bit. It's not a magic pill, it's not going to fix you, but these little things will help. L-theanine is another one. So it's an amino acid you find in green tea. It balances out the caffeine and just helps with a little bit of a calming effect. Getting some B vitamins helps in the early days because your body is so depleted of nutrients, B vitamins and electrolytes. And then I'd also get some magnesium glycinate, just to use that before you go to sleep. Like I said, we're low on electrolytes, we're low on sort of minerals, and magnesium will help you sleep better. Just a brief intermission. If this video resonates with you and it feels like I'm speaking to you and you've been through the same sort of pain I have and you want to transform your life, drop the drink, drop the weight and reclaim your self-respect all in 60 days, then there's a link down below. The plus side is there's no risk. I will offer you your money back if you're not satisfied with the process and it doesn't work for you. There's only an upside, and that upside is completely transforming your life, becoming someone who can actually be proud of themselves and someone that is going to fulfill their destiny. Point number 6, community. So when you first stop drinking, it can be quite lonely. You might feel like you're the only one that's experiencing what you're going through, what you're feeling. But there's a subreddit called Stop Drinking, which I found very useful in the beginning. It just helped me feel like I'm not the only one going through those things. The anxiety, the depression, the humiliation, spending all my money, and just all of that stuff. There's people that have had relatable experiences. There might be people that are way worse off than you, that have completely fucked up their lives. Or there might be people that are just struggling with 4 or 5 drinks a day. There's a whole plethora of people on there with all relatable experiences. So for me, I find it very useful just being part of that community, having a little chat. Sometimes I wouldn't even post. Sometimes I'll just read and it would just make me feel okay in myself. I'm only human. We all make mistakes, but if we learn from those mistakes and progress, then that's fine. And finally, point number 7. This is a bit of a painful exercise, but it's using all of that suffering to sort of propel yourself in the future, I guess. What I did in the beginning was I wrote down everything that I hated. Me being overweight, me being poor, me wasting all my money, me doing all that stuff. I wrote down everything like that. So, for instance, how much money I was spending, how much I weighed, how much I hated my situation. And then just wrote down the things I could change. So I just got it all on paper, all out of my head, and just everything that was sort of in my rock bottom point, just out there as a bit of a journal. I know I mentioned journaling already, but then I sort of wrote down what my best day would be like. What could I do to make every day positive? What could I do with the money I've saved? What could I do with all that time I've got back? And then just start creating positivity from that negativity. And that just helped massively, just helped give me something to look forward to. I've got a bit of extra money to save, I've got a bit more time to take up hobbies. All of these things sort of compound. And hopefully these 7 points resonate with you and you find it useful. It's what I've used to help me stop drinking, and it's what I've used to help maintain my sobriety and to help just be consistent and just improve myself, be the man I'm supposed to be, actually be someone I'm proud of. And like I said, there's a link down below if you want to transform your life. And that's about it for this video, so give it a thumbs up, like the video. I'll see you in the next one.